for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
A high-profile murder.
Anita Kennedy, specifically right next to 69 and 55 Anita Kennedy.
Mayor Frank Jackson's grandson gunned down on Cleveland's east side.
One black male, unknown name.
Well, we turn now to a developing story involving the death of Frank Q. Jackson, Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson's godson. Our Lydia Esparra joins us now with the newest details. Lydia, what do we know right now?
Well, we discussed it last night. We went on the air that there was an arrest, but they don't believe the man they arrested last night actually pulled the trigger. So this is what we know today. Arrested yesterday around 2 o'clock Wednesday, Robert Shepard investigators say Shepard lured Frank Q. Jackson to the east side, and sources tell me Jackson went to get his dirt bike. Police don't believe he was the shooter, but
breaking news at 6. In the murder, prosecutors linked to Mayor Frank Jackson's grandson. 5 on Your Side investigators just uncovered records showing the car witnesses saw speeding away from the shooting scene was intentionally set on fire days later. Investigator Scott Knoll live in the newsroom with the breaking details.
You may remember Cleveland police went to the mayor's house looking for that car the night of the murder. It wasn't there, but the car's registered owner, the mayor's grandson, was. Now we know police did find that car, or at least what was left of it. The burned out Volkswagen, barely recognizable. The only clue for a policeman at the scene.
Oh, there it is. Volkswagen emblem.
Cleveland firefighters found the car consumed by flames August 30th behind an abandoned church on Holton Avenue. Police say they couldn't find license plate or a vehicle identification number on the car. That is, until it was towed for closer inspection. The city's vehicle impound unit did find a VIN on the burned out car, and a Cleveland fire report released in response to a public records request by 5 on Your Side investigators confirms it's a 2006 Volkswagen Passat. According to the report, the registration matches a police broadcast shortly after 30-year-old Antonio Parra was found shot and killed near West 51st and Clark.
2006 blue Volkswagen Passat, plate Henry King yesterday, 3561. Occupied 2 times.
Prosecutors say a witness to the shooting wrote down that license plate after one of the men involved jumped in the car and took off. Police say that car is registered to the mayor's grandson, Frank Q. Jackson. Here he was in court earlier this week where he's on probation after pleading guilty to a series of misdemeanors last summer. Jackson also faces felonious assault, abduction, and failure to comply charges for a separate case. He's pleaded not guilty to those charges, and last month, prosecutor Mike O'Malley said Jackson is a suspect in Parra's killing. Court records show Frank Q. Jackson was ticketed while driving that blue Volkswagen August 13th. That was less than 2 weeks before the shooting. Jackson's attorney insists he had no involvement in the murder. No one from that law firm returned a voicemail left this afternoon.
We have no other explanation as to any other potential drivers of his vehicles, so certainly he would be considered a suspect.
We start tonight with the mayor's grandson called a suspect in a Cleveland murder, and now amid fears of interference from City Hall, there are calls for city police to hand that case over. 5 on Your Side investigator Scott Knoll live right now outside the Justice Center for us tonight. Scott.
Yeah, from here inside the Justice Center to Cleveland City Hall tonight, those calls getting louder 2 weeks after this deadly shooting. It's been 2 weeks since Antonio Parra was shot and killed near West 51st and Clark. 2 weeks since investigators say someone wrote down the license plate of a getaway car the attackers used. 2 weeks since that license plate led homicide detectives to Mayor Frank Jackson's doorstep. The car, prosecutors say, registered to the mayor's grandson, Frank Q. Jackson. Through his attorney, Frank Q. Jackson denied any involvement in the case, but the ties between the crime and city too close for comfort for some.
the perception is sometimes reality, and the perception right now in the community is that there's too many dots connected.
That's why Matt Zone, the chairman of City Council's Safety Committee, believes Cleveland police need to turn the murder investigation over to an independent agency. And he's not alone.
There's questions now, can the Cleveland Police Department faithfully conduct that investigation? I don't know whether they can or not. I want to believe in my heart that they can.
But Councilman Mike Polensek worries if Mayor Jackson's appointed police chief doesn't hand off the case, there will be questions.
If not, I predict you, this is going to fester, this is going to get ugly. And that should not happen.
A spokeswoman for the mayor said he wouldn't comment on the calls to turn the case over today. Neither would Public Safety Director Michael McGrath. But Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Mike O'Malley believes it needs to happen.
I have no doubt there will be people who are going to question whatever occurs in this case, which is just why you should step aside and remove the potential conflict.
The prosecutor said he's not aware of any interference by the mayor in the case. Neither is Polensek. But when we asked Councilman Matt Zone,
have you had police officers come to you with concerns about the way this was handled?
You know, next question.
Is that a yes?
I mean,
there are concerns in the community.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
a Cleveland police spokeswoman said today there are no plans to turn this case over to another agency. That request would have to come from the police chief himself. He, of course, appointed by the mayor. Reporting live downtown on 5 on Your Side, investigator Scott Noel.
Investigation led detectives to Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson's home. City Hall still is not talking about details of his interaction with police. Amid calls for an independent investigation, Mark Namick tells us one issue getting a lot of attention has to do with police body cameras.
Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson, his grandson, and a murder investigation. These are three topics getting a lot of scrutiny that City Hall doesn't want to talk about. Let's take a look, because you're going to hear a lot more about these in the coming weeks. So how are these connected? Detectives investigating an August 28th murder on the city's west side got a tip that a car speeding away from the scene was registered to Mayor Frank Jackson's 22-year-old grandson. It's important to note that the mayor and his grandson live under the same roof, and that's where police found them. But the mayor did all the talking, telling them that his grandson would come down to the police station the next morning and have something to say. He didn't. Instead, the grandson's lawyer said he wasn't involved and wouldn't be answering any more questions. Two sources told me that when police arrived at the mayor's house, their body cameras were turned off. Now, did the mayor ask or did the police offer? As they did in the case of football player Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, would you like the cameras on? I mean, it's up to you. It don't matter.
We requested the body cam footage of anything taken that night at the mayor's house, but we were told it's part of an ongoing investigation. But does it even exist? Cleveland City Hall continues to stonewall us, refusing to even clarify the smallest points about the cops at the mayor's house that night. Unanswered questions and growing concerns that Mayor Jackson might not be able to be objective are driving calls for an outside investigator to take over the case. When we asked City Hall about whether the mayor would support such a move, he wasn't talking. Mark Namick, Channel 3.
The mayor's grandson was dropped off in the East Side neighborhood the night of September 19th and then ambushed.
Well, we turn now to a developing story involving the death of Frank Q. Jackson, Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson's godson. Our Lydia Esparra joins us now with the newest details. Lydia, what do we know right now?
Well, we discussed it last night. We went on the air that there was an arrest, but they don't believe the man they arrested last night actually pulled the trigger. So this is what we know today. Arrested yesterday around 2 o'clock Wednesday, Robert Shepard investigators say Shepard lured Frank Q. Jackson to the east side, and sources tell me Jackson went to get his dirt bike. Police don't believe he was the shooter, but it is responsible. Shepard is charged with aggravated homicide and murder and is being held at the Justice Center. Now, they're still searching yet for another suspect. So what they're telling us, maybe there were two people, because he was on a bike, lured him over there, and it was another person who shot him. But in the courts, you know, you're just as responsible as the one who actually pulls the trigger. So it's possible you're going to have two people that are going to be charged.
So the investigation continues?
It continues, but they're very, very close. Sources tell me very, very close to getting that second man.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks, Lynn.
It's a gray Chrysler. It was all tinted windows.
CMHA officers quickly realized the victim here is indeed the mayor's grandson.
Radio notify CPD. They're going to want to come for this one.
I have some vehicles that CPD would probably like to see.
Leading up to the shooting, the camera shows a lot of activity going on here. You can see this man in white riding up and down the street on a dirt bike. This car Frank Q's cousin describes appears multiple times, at one point stopping to talk to a guy in a white shirt. The same car appears to be parked in front of the side yard during the shooting and drives off right afterwards.
Time of death 2123.
According to the medical examiner, Frank Q's body was found next to a dirt bike. We've reached out to CPD at least once each week since the shooting. However, it's still unclear if this footage has yielded any suspects or leads. Hannah Catlett, 19 News.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb, ties. We on our way to Ohio with it. Cleveland. Nigga, the mayor's involved with this one. We talking about the whole Cleveland. Y'all get in the comment box. I know y'all got something to say. Now, today, we are going to be covering none other than Frank Q. Jackson. But according to the media, we probably should be covering Frank G. Jackson. But we definitely not going to do that here. Probably doing an outstanding job in the city of Cleveland. Now, for those that don't know Frank Q. Jackson, he's going to be the grandson of current Cleveland Mayor Frank G. Jackson. And according to the media, he's going to pretty much be a thug, member or associate of No Limit 700. Anybody familiar with No Limit 700? I think it's going to comment box ASAP. Now, the story with Frank Q. Jackson is wow. I've been getting a lot of requests to cover him. And when I looked him up on the internet, what I found the most was infamous traffic stop. And when I say infamous, it almost was the opening footage, but it was so much more stuff behind that traffic stop that I had to skip that. But make sure y'all check that out. And it was a traffic stop where Mr. Jackson was going back and forth with the law enforcement officer as far as his understanding of what the officer was asking him to do. Even though the officer, I guess, asked him to step out the car up to 9 times or something like that before Mr. Jackson would speed off in his Palm Angels hoodie, thugging it. I want to say that the officer wanted to do a consent search. My idea, what Frank Q had in his mind was he's just trying to get to the crib because these bullshit ass officers can't do a damn thing. And according to a lawsuit that was filed against the mayor, Frank G. Jackson, that's essentially what the people behind the lawsuit is going to say, that the mayor was using his position to protect his grandsons and his great-grandson. After pretty much doing research on the case, I guess you can find that believable. Definitely when he bears the same namesake as the granddad. I also seen news interviews where he was saying what goes on in my front yard don't got nothing to do, or it ain't nobody business but mine. And what caused him to say that was back in September of 2019, a gentleman by the name of Sean Murray was pictured with a handful of cash and a Glock 40 with the extendo posted at the mayor's driveway. And that was an issue. Not only that, it was a police cruiser in the back of the photo. Yeah, so that essentially made the spot a little bit hot for the mayor. And that's something that he's pretty much fighting now. Now with the death of his grandson, they're going to say his grandson was involved in a drive-by shooting that resulted in the death of a man. Later they would find that vehicle from that drive-by burnt out. At the time of his death, he was what the police would say was a suspect in that murder, which leads us to his murder, where he was lured to the other side of the city to get a dirt bike and subsequently killed. Now today, or I want to say yesterday, a gentleman was arrested in connection with that murder. Well, actually, two people were arrested. They had the one person that was charged or indicted with the murder was actually arrested, I want to say in September, or in October, either early October and September. And he was charged with luring Frank Q. Jackson to the scene of his murder under the ruse that he was there to pick up a dirt bike. It looked like he had a fondness for dirt bikes, because I did see several pictures of him on dirt bikes, and also pictured with the mayor behind him. The one gentleman that they said was going to be Robert Shepard, it's going to be a 29-year-old, and he subsequently lured Frank Q to Sidaway Avenue and East 70th Street in Cleveland and killed him, or well, not killed him, but set him up to be murdered by an unknown suspect on September 19th. He's currently being held on $1 million bond in the Cuyahoga County Jail. A arraignment date has not been set for him. There's no information on the other shooter. We're going to see if he's going to spill the beans. This is a real tight case, especially when you facing prosecution for the murder of the mayor's grandson. The possibility, I don't know how much hope you got in that. I don't care what lawyer you got. Y'all get in the comment box. Y'all let me know if you're going to talk. If this is not the wildest shit with a mayor going on. Yo, shout out to Cleveland, man. Y'all got it. It's your boy Popalot. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Y'all make sure y'all hit the bell right into this video so y'all know when this trill spill shit is dropping. RIP to the guy, Frank Q. Jackson. Our condolences go out to his family. Everybody from Cleveland, let us know what it's like, man. They say that the mayor was brought in because he was a people's mayor. He was a champion of the people. He definitely didn't look like I thought he would look when I pulled him up. His grandsons looked thuggy. He looked like a well-educated guy. Is this just a case of a grandfather standing by his kids? Y'all let me know what y'all think. This is wild. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb, ties.